2020, August 30th, 2025 p.m. So if Nikola Tesla can produce 1.21 gigawatts, fictional pun intended, then we're talking about some really seriously interesting, funky stuff going on here. Now, adding to that information, Miramont Castle is a research facility, which means that there's very, very likely hidden laboratories in the infrastructure. Where those laboratories are is an excessively good question, and there's actual physical, tangible evidence of said research facility, research laboratory, hidden research laboratory in the architecture that can be found even to this very second. And there's actually three places. There's actually three portions of that research, the research lab, the hidden research lab, that have signs on the outside of that research lab. There's odd architectural designs to that building that only make sense if you put them into a research lab configuration, as well as if you put in the highly fantasized Leonardo da Vinci, which Nikola Tesla learned a great period. Nikola Tesla learned a great deal of what he knew from studying the notebooks and studying the information from the manuscripts and such from Leonardo da Vinci. He learned in Paris, and he learned in some of the other places that Da Vinci frequented. So he learned at the footsteps of the master centuries later. Period. So my fictionalized fantasy idea about the Milan Cathedral and the Last Supper has a little bit more credibility, because if that building of Miramont Castle is both a representation of the Capitoline Hill, Rome, the almost none of the buildings are almost none of the infrastructure is still there from 2,000 years ago. It's all been destroyed. But whatever the hill is still in existence that looked down on the trial of Jesus. Period. That being stated as a matter of statistical and gospel truth, knowing that the enemies of Jesus, as defined and described very carefully by the Mark chapter 13, the enemy will come and the enemy will destroy. Trust up here. Trust here. The enemy's going to lie to you. You have to trust here. You have to trust here. Don't listen to the enemy, because they will lie to you, and they will lie to you in my name. They will do whatever it takes to convince you that the fiction is real and the real is fiction. Period. Fiction is real. Is fiction. Now, we have the Narmer monolith. Narmer, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about Narmer that needs to be covered secondarily. Narmer, the first pharaoh, he was the first to take on the title of the pharaoh of both Upper and Lower Egypt, which brings into the whole idea of Janus. But the north and south face of Janus, which is a different description and different understanding than the east-west definition of Janus, east and west face, which is the pyramids. Well, there's a whole north-south thing going on too, period, and that whole north-south thing going on as well is reflected in the Vitruvian Man, Da Vinci's drawing, which is his clandestine drawings and blueprints for the Vatican remodel. That the plans for the remodel of the Vatican took place between 1495 and 1512, which is the time that he was partially under house arrest during those years. And at the end of it, the French king with the French army came down and said, "Release him now or else." And the Pope went, "Well, okay, if I have to." Period. So you have Leonardo da Vinci, and you have Nikola Tesla, and you have Father Franklin and Miramont Castle being a reflection of the Mount of Olives and the Capitoline Hill and King Solomon's Temple and Masonry, and you have the Temple of Tyr, and you have now newly added evidence today of the Khafre Pyramid, the Giza Plateau, Khufu being the spa building, and the Cliff House, which is in a perfect square, Freemasonic square, period. You have a very, very complicated story with thousands of moving parts, all telling some very fun, very interesting stuff, period. You also have at least 2 or 3 aspects of the story of Jacob's Ladder in the story of Jacob's Ladder in a representation of the Colosseum in down near and or close to the spa building in that general area that used to be there. Most of that construction has been obliterated and rebuilt to the arcade, and some other shops and such are in there now. But before it was an arcade, it was much, much larger, much more intense construction. All of its City of Pillars construction, period. You also have which is a representation of the Enterprise, which I need to model that stuff out and find out where that is in downtown. I know where I've done it with Miramont Castle and with the Palatine Hill, but bigger, I haven't done the Forum and the downtown Manitou, old downtown Manitou yet, period. Then there's also a Jacob's Ladder and other dimensional travel situation going on, radio telescope situation with the spa building, or a building that was it was downstream of the spa building, the bathhouse and the Cliff House. So you have Khufu, and you have Khafre and Menkaure up over that way, and these are synagogues. It's also the Capitoline Hill. It's also the pyramids. It's also the Narmer monolith. So the number of working parts in this situation is almost too complicated to break down into smaller pieces, but we'll try.